Hello and welcome to another episode of the Internet Media Podcast of the Fill in the Blank series.
Today our guest will be Real Not Perfect.
So, Real Not Perfect is a musician who has multiple audios on YouTube and other platforms, and today we're mainly going to be discussing about his music. So, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. This is my second collaborative podcast, and I love doing things with people, so thank you.
So we're going to begin the podcast with our quote of the week, which is going to be chosen by our guest. If you'd like to go ahead.
So I was asked to select a quote of the week, and I thought, do I pick a quote from a book? Do I pick a quote from a song that somebody else wrote? And ultimately, I decided I'm picking a lyric from a song that I wrote. The quote would be, "Can you understand this? I don't try to be the best. All I do is put imperfect to the test." That is a lyric from, I believe right now it's my most popular song on Spotify. The song is called Towards the Light. That is my quote.
That's a pretty good quote. Yeah. What was the inspiration for that?
The inspiration for the quote is that I don't try to be the best. I wrote songs because there was something I needed to say. I said what I had to. It's not about being the best. I had to express a certain emotion, and it's not about being the best.
So we're gonna now move on, and we have some questions from people in the server and ourselves. So I'm gonna start with one that's just my personal. So how did you get into music?
How did I get into music? I think it was 2020 when this is supposed to be the story I will share later, so I'll just tell you little parts of it, and then once it's the story segment, I'll talk about that. How did I get into music? It's really just I had thoughts, I had emotions. A really big part of that is, unfortunately for me, I have PTSD. It gets really bad. Like sometimes I can't sleep, or if I do, I get nightmares. I'll be somewhere random, like a supermarket, and like I'll have to stop moving or go to a corner and just remember things. So that's really it. Like I needed to find a way to say things to an audience without giving away too much information.
That's a pretty good way of getting into music. Very humbling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
One other thing is, has your music given you money? Has it got you a good benefit of income and everything?
I know. So I have to be careful how I say this as much as possible if I can. So I'm sorry if I'm going to be a bit vague. I live in a place in Asia. It's called the Philippines. I live in an area of the Philippines called Metro Manila. Now, what I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but it kind of looks like it. So, as with a lot of independent, if that's what you want to call it, as with a lot of independent musicians, I use a certain service to put my stuff like automatically on Apple Music, or like auto generate the tracks on YouTube or Spotify, Deezer, Amazon, things like that. I have made money, but it's not a lot in my opinion. And I remember one of my friends who is also an independent musician, a good friend of mine. I've written a couple of songs for them just because they're a good friend of mine, and like, why would I not help this person? I remember them looking at my YouTube, both my personal YouTube and the auto-generated by YouTube channel, because that's a separate thing, my personal one and the one that is automatically created by YouTube. So they looked at both of those, and they looked at my Spotify, and instantly, like, they messaged me. And this is not the first time. Other people said this to me too. They said, "You have like a lot of views. You have a lot of streams. Like, how much have you made?" And then I'll tell them how much I've made. And they're like, "Something's wrong there. You're supposed to make more than that." And I didn't get it myself, but this is what I've heard from other people. I don't know if this is true, but assuming it's true, I think it makes sense. What I've heard is if you're from, in this case, the Philippines, like, it seems you're going to get, I don't know how to say this. It seems like you're going to get like a smaller fraction. It seems like you're going to get like a marginalized amount, and the other money, I don't know where it goes. Some people have stories like, oh, the government of the Philippines takes it, or it just goes here and there, or like because of where you live, you're not going to get much. That's what I've heard. Do I have evidence? No, but that answers your question. I've made money, but in my opinion, not a lot. And in other people's opinion, not enough for the streams that I get.
So another question.
Hmm.
How has going into music, affected you? What have your friends, family thought about it?
How have my friends and family thought about it? As for friends, I try to keep a very small circle of friends, especially the ones like I bump into on a real life physical basis. Like a few of them are just from where I worked because I worked in the same company for 5 years, from age 18 to age I'm 24 now, and I left in October last year. So that sounds like 5 years. I'm sorry. I'm not good at math. 2016 to 2021. So I have a couple of friends from there, and to answer your question, they were very proud of me. I remember one of them. She is a really great friend of mine. I love her because she's smart and she's empathetic. I remember her, she messaged me and said, I'm so inspired by this. Like, it's amazing that you create things from absolutely nothing. And it's inspiring me to get up, like stop being lazy and do creative things. And that's mainly the response I got from friends. Now I'm going to be really honest with you without giving away too much information. I am no longer in contact with my immediate family because of circumstances, unfortunately.
That is a definite shame to hear that. And
It is, and like half of my songs are kind of about that. Like again, I try to not give away too much because I don't want to like creep people out. I don't want to be gross and like, yo, this is my story. This is what happened. Like, I don't want to push people away. So I think of metaphors and I think of like, I have to allude to it in a creative way so that people will listen without getting too disturbed.
well, your positive attitude with all this is quite inspirational for that fact.
Thank you.
Now, that is the main bit of the Q&A we've got. Going to limit it a bit more with the amount of questions we're going to do. So really it's the main interview and about your music career, because we understand that music is quite a hard kind of side stage you get into. I've tried it before with friends in school.
Right? Exactly.
Ooh, it got nowhere. So,
Yes.
considering your recent, would you call it viral, like going viral on YouTube?
I'm not viral. In my opinion, I'm not viral. I have a total of approximately 220,000 views, which I didn't even think that was a lot, but my friends, like people on Discord, would look at it and they were like, how did you get 220,000 views? And I was like, I don't know. So let me know when it's time for the story segment, because like I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it in more detail. But my answer to your question, like, did you go viral? No, I never went viral. Comments are actually disabled on my channel. I'm sorry. I kid you not. I was gonna say I shit you not. I just remembered that that's okay here. I'm allowed to say the word shit. I'm sorry. I shit you not, guys. No, I never went viral. I don't know how my stuff got attention. Going back to what I said is comments are disabled because I never felt maybe I will in the future, but I never felt a need to engage with the audience. I disabled everything I could from like, publicly looking at how many subscribers I have. Like, I disabled, can you see how many likes or dislikes? I kept it as kind of private because of the way it started. And I'll talk about that later.
So, I mean, coming from someone with the bare minimum of experience in music,
Yes.
basically middle school band, and starting a YouTube channel with my ex-friends where we made a song about mac and cheese. So obviously I'm the best to ask questions. So how has just making music, because I've heard this from a lot of people, how has that allowed you to express stuff which you previously couldn't express?
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. I love you platonically. It's been good. It's been good because, again, unfortunate things happened in my past. Unfortunately for me, I live with it every day. I remember it. Again, a big part of that is unfortunately I have really bad PTSD. I feel very lucky. I feel like this is how I feel. I don't know if other people will agree or they feel the same way, but this is how it is for me. I feel like it was the best decision I could have made, albeit how it started was an accident. But But like, there are people who now know my story because like, I've been on Discord for about 3 years. I'm a member of all manner of random communities. So people will click on my profile picture, they'll see my about me, it'll lead them to my Spotify or to my YouTube channel. And then they'll tell me, I liked this song, I relate to it. Can you tell me the story? Depending on who it is, if I trust them, depending on how old they are, things like that, I'll tell them what actually happened. But I feel so honored that I told my story in a way that doesn't creep people out, in a way that doesn't trigger people too much. Like, I said what I needed to say, and it's there now. Like, in addition to me actually writing the songs and making them public for everyone to hear if they want to listen to it, in addition to that, after publicly posting the songs, I found myself actually talking about things that happened before. And I used to never do that, or if I would do it, it was extremely rare. So I feel it really has helped me.
So one more question from me, and then we'll move into your story a little bit.
Right.
So I've listened to a couple of your songs, but I've heard a lot of musicians and artists, whatever, define themselves as like a different genre from the song. So what would you say your genre is?
Ooh. This is a very, very hard question. How would I define my genre? Oh, this is so hard. Streaming platforms require you to pick a genre, and I just stare at them. Like, it's not metal, it's probably not rock, maybe it's a little bit of pop. Like, I feel so weird most of the time. I just pick singer/songwriter because apparently that's a genre. Like, but if I were to describe it, I guess the first thing I would rattle off is really pop, because I have very few musical influences. Like, people on Discord, because you have so many, like, on Discord you have so many different communities, like songwriting servers, like poem writing servers, singing servers, like all forms of creative people doing creative stuff. And sometimes people want an introduction and they'll like, hey, you real not perfect, or Corgi, as people know me on Discord. They'll be like, what's your musical influence? And like, most of the time I just say Hilary Duff. Yeah, I'm sorry. Exactly. Like, Hilary Duff was, I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
So in 2000 of her, I'm sorry, I cannot English. My brain is bad.
Good. Yeah, I've heard of Hilary Duff.
Yes. So I was born in 1997, so like 2002? I don't know exactly, like 2002, 2003, 2004. I was watching the Disney Channel, and you had all sorts of random things like that. So Raven, even Stevens? Did I make that up? I don't know anymore. But yeah, one of the shows was Lizzie McGuire. And the actress there, her name is Hilary Duff. She has a couple of albums, and I'm 24 years old now, and there's at least one album that I can still sing start to finish. And other people will, people who meet me on Discord will say, they will say all sorts of things like, what about Taylor Swift? What about Bruno Mars? And my response is always like, I admire them so much. I think they're so talented, and it takes a strong person to do what they do. But I can't pretend I know their songs. I know some. And I can't pretend they've influenced me because I didn't spend a great deal of time listening to them. So going back to your question, what is your genre? Like, probably, oh my gosh, I wish I could pick one. I can't. Like 50% pop, accidental pop, and 50% singer-songwriter. I don't think I have a genre.
So basically paving the way for your own genre. Takes a lot.
That's a positive way of putting it, I guess.
So just one final question. Where do you see yourself going with music? Because obviously some people see it as a hobby, some see it as what they want to be for the rest of their life.
Thank you for that question. I have an opportunity to talk about it. I gotta be realistic. So, like I said a while ago, I live in a place and it's called the Philippines, and sometimes, not necessarily always, but sometimes when you're from the Philippines, like, sometimes the economy isn't that great. Sometimes money is really bad sometimes. So realistically, like, am I going to spend the money to rent studios? Am I going to spend the money to really pay a whole bunch of producers? Am I really going to take the time and the energy? Like I told you, I just left a job and I'm still looking for the next one. So I've felt this way for a long time. I guess I'm lucky I've felt this way for a long time. I don't see it as a I don't see it as a profession. I definitely see it as a hobby. Maybe in the future, because anything can happen, good or bad. Maybe in the future I'll try to build on it. I mean, I have 3 EPs on Spotify, a couple of random singles, a couple of features on other people's songs. And if you ask me, for my humble opinion, my humble opinion is if I take a look at it, no one has to agree. If I look at it, I'm immediately like, this is just a guy who's doing it for a hobby, and he was kind of lucky to get views. So that's how I see it. It's not something, I don't think it's something I'm going to be doing full time and really concentrate on. It, to me, right now, it doesn't seem very realistic. So it's definitely a hobby, and I made a bit of money. That's all it is.
If it's not for the money, then it's really just for helping God, because music can change people's lives. I have seen it. I have personally experienced it. It can mean a lot. So just making that music and not for the money is a very humble thing. Very, very humble thing.
I agree. Um, I hope it doesn't sound like I'm bragging. Some people have reached out to me, whether by email or through Discord or whatever random platform. People who took a moment to say, this one song like really moved me, and that's not something I expected. I didn't, because I know, like, think about the popular artists. Like, you go to McDonald's, you go to a mall, you go to a gym, and you hear their songs, like, and you go on Twitter sometimes, and it's so normal. Like, every day people shower them with tweets like, your song changed my life, like, you're the king, you're the queen. I never expected to get that. And I never got the, I never got the really emotional, like, obsessive type of praise or attention or compliments. But for me, personally, what helped a lot was the people who said, I heard the song, I actually relate to it. I think I know what you went through because of the way you said it, and I went through that too, so thank you for the song. And that, to me, was a big bonus. In addition to, I said what I needed to say. I did it through a song. If some people like it, that's cool. If some people respect it, that's cool. If they don't want to, that's cool too. I did what I needed to do. I'm letting it go. If you want to respect it or like it, you can. So I did my, if you want to call it, like, my main objective. That felt like a bonus to me. Extremely short story. I think it was 2020. I like to write poems. It's a way for me to kind of organize my thoughts and some of my memories onto a piece of paper or a Microsoft Excel file, because I use that as a diary, kind of. I was running out of space on my Google Drive. And, you know, I have the poem. I record myself speaking the poem or singing the poem, depending on how I want it to sound like to me. I think it was 15 gigabytes. And it was like, you're running out of space. And I was like, okay, what do I do? I remember trying to make another Gmail so that I have another 15 gigabytes, and it was like, there was like an automated message. We suspect, I'll make the story quick, I promise. We suspect that, like, you're creating another account for, like, reasons that are like, you just want to make an alt so you can join something like that. Then I couldn't make one at the time. I've made one now, but at the time I couldn't. So I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I realized, wait, I have friends who just put random stuff on YouTube. Yeah, I can do that. So I put, it's still embarrassing, even though it's been a year, kind of, like, more than a year. It's still embarrassing. Like, I just put them on YouTube. I did not know it was public. I did not know it was automatically public by default. Like, when you upload it, at the time at least, it was automatically public. But I was surprised to see people looked at it. I got views, like, and I thought to myself, people would listen to that. Like, even, like, I'm ashamed of, it's hard. I'm sorry. I know we have a couple of minutes left. I'll try to compress this. I'm ashamed of how I never thought of how it will be presented, how it will come across to an audience. I'm ashamed of that. I was just like, I'm being myself. This is what I'm doing. I didn't know it was automatically public, but I came back on, there was a couple of things and there were views. So what I did, it was a psychological thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I put stuff. I did not consider there would be an audience. They probably hate me because it's so obvious that I wasn't making it for an audience. They're like, what is this guy doing? It's just a bunch of words on a sheet or things like that. So what I did was, people know the story. I kinda starved myself for like 4 weeks to save a little bit of money. I bought a really cheap ukulele because I was like, I have no instrument knowledge, zero, perfect zero. So I purchased like the cheapest, easiest instrument I could think of. I went on YouTube. I learned literally 4 chords, and I'm crap at these 4 chords. But I was like, okay, I have an audience. Let's make something slightly presentable. So I wrote a poem. I learned the 4 chords. I used the exact same 4 chords. Listen to Cast the Lighting, listen to Towards the Light, listen to Call the Lifeguard, or any of my random stuff. It's literally me, a recording device, and a ukulele, and it's one take. But people listened to it, and some producers on YouTube were like, can you pay me to work with you? Because I want to help you make something pretty. And I would just be like, I can't pay you money. I'm poor, I'm broke, and I live in the Philippines. And some of them were like, okay, I'll let go. But some of them were like, I don't care. Let's still make something together. So that's how it happened. It was a fluke. I didn't think people would look at it. Forcing myself to learn the chords was like, this is embarrassing. Let me try to make something slightly presentable for other people. That's my story.
It's definitely a story I could expect to hear from someone who knows where you can go, and hopefully you can make it big. I mean, you're already on the road there. So
Maybe. Thank you so much.
it's been amazing to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You ask no question, but my answer is still no.